Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R.Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 16th, 2021 at approximately 11:45 a.m. PST. And we carry on forward. I'll tell you, things are very, very hectic right about now, but we are getting things organized. Hence why we're starting to get these done a little bit more readily, I think. But this is just a quick message to a gentleman that left a message, and I'm not going to use it by name simply because I don't remember the name right off the top of my head. But he asked me if I would do a video reviewing some of the more shall we say, memorable encounters I've had with off-worlders, which I won't be doing on this particular video, but I will be doing one that I'm going to list on, that I'm going to post, and that came out really well. I am going to do one in the next couple of days here, revolving around some of the more impactful encounters that I've had. Now, just to be clear, I'm going to try and focus on the positive ones, not the real negative ones. Okay, again, this is an issue of minimizing the negative and maximizing the positive. They all happen. But the idea is to make certain that people do not actually grow to just continue fearing things. The reality is there are positive people and negative people in every walk of life. Even if you watch garden slugs, you'd think that they were just all the same thing. They all look pretty much the same. But the reality is they each have their own personality as well. Now, to be clear, this is a live recording, meaning when I'm done, I just double check to make sure I got the date right, and then I post it as is. All the hiccups, all the quirks, all the hand signals, and that sort of thing. Fortunately, I tend to try and keep the hand signals polite, as well as the language. Okay, if you ever meet me in person, you'll find I talk the same way. I'll double back on what I'm saying, but what I mean there is I'll go, well, I can't do that. Well, I could do that, but it's not a good idea. To this end, okay, there is a subset of videos I've done on this site, subset marked language. If you take a look at those ones, there are certain words I've identified that absolutely hinder personal growth. Okay, now, hopefully we get a thumbs up on the video. Do subscribe to our channel and share the daylights out of it. Okay, the reason I returned was to pass on this message that working together, we can make this a better world for pretty much everybody. Okay, and that's not just the people with videos. That's people all over the world, over every walk of existence. For example, okay, there are a lot of people that will sit and talk to their dogs or to their cats. Most people don't realize that if you don't have pets, the odds are you're not necessarily getting the message. But many people will talk to their pets. Spread the word. Okay, let them know as well. Because they are simply another species. They're another race that does communicate with each other. Okay, and don't forget to hit the alarm to the right of the subscribe button. Just to let you know, actually I think it's called an alert, but just to let you know when the newest videos come up, because I do try and get at least one a day out. Now, today was really productive. It was a little behind schedule. I had a problem with my car a couple of days ago. So a bill that I was supposed to be paying yesterday, I couldn't get down to pay. That created a bit of a problem, but I actually went for one phenomenal walk. Normally I do about a 10-15 minute walk at a time. But I went down to pay the bill and ended up walking for an hour getting back. Also ran into a chap on the way home that was literally rolling massive wheels, like massive tires, in an effort to exercise. Now, what he was training for, I don't know. He was grabbing them and flipping them over. I've seen this exercise done in the world's strongest man. Okay, he was doing in his front driveway, right? So I'm looking, and I got talking to him, and he says, "Hey," because like I told him, I was on a can, like I told him, I'm not going to be doing that, obviously. He says, whatever you can, if you're aiming to get back in shape, whatever you can do, do it. He says, don't set your marker on everybody else. So, I mean, that was rather nice. Of course, got home, got the editing done, or the proofing done that I required. Okay, there's still more to do. I've got a lot of work to do. But it is breaking down. And like I said, the tools that I offer here are the exact same tools that I personally use, which is why I'm getting things accomplished. Okay, right now, it's absolutely ridiculous, the temperature in this place. I don't even know what it is. Well, actually, I can find out easy enough. What do we got here? Oh, that's not bad. It's only 28. And 28 degrees, that's 28 degrees Celsius. Okay, which is not a bad setup, really. Dang, I'm just looking for the gauge here. Here we go. This is what we call doing it the easy way. Using a calculator instead of trying to sit here and figure it out. And we're just over 80 degrees Fahrenheit here. Okay. Now, I don't know if it's only that. That may be just outside. I might be a lot hotter inside. But once I get this video done, then I've got a number of other things I'm working on. Getting bills sorted around, getting more editing done, more writing done. Because I've got some pretty big programs I'm working on. Okay. And this is what I said. This is what I was referring to by, if you take the time to really organize your own life, get the energy in your own workstation running properly first. Now, for me, this is actually relatively simple at this stage. Okay. I just have a tendency of, getting a little carried away with things. So, that's okay. While I'm talking to you, I'm just going to do that because, frankly, I have to. And yes, that is exactly what it looks like. It's called a cash drawer. Or a cash box, actually, is what it's referred to as. But the nice part about it, from my standpoint, is it does mean that I can get these bits and pieces out of the way, right? So I can get things organized and know exactly what I'm working with. As I said, the more organized you are, the easier you'll find your life runs. Now, don't take my word for it. Okay, do not make the mistake of just going, oh, because he said it works, it does. My methods work extremely well for me and have worked for literally thousands of others. But it's up to you to get them organized. It's up to you to get your own. Now, the method I use is real simple. Whoop, here it is. I just keep a list handy of the different tasks that I've got, and then check them off as I go. Right. And with that in mind, I've got a number of other things going on. And yeah, it looks a little odd, but understand something. Many people talk about multitasking. Okay, and usually what happens is something gets completely scrambled and not accommodated. Okay, now, that's the phone you hear in the background, and like I said, I have a tendency of putting things on, ignoring certain things so I can get them done. That is one of those phone calls I'll have to do, but this is a live reading, so I'm not going to bother going back and editing it out. Okay. But I do have, I've got the energy in my office working really nicely right about now. And yeah, at the moment I've had to switch back for a little bit to just get things organized because, well, that's the way it is. One day I'll get it all organized so it runs properly, but I'm not entirely certain which day. But I will tell you this. Now, thus far, if you go to my Facebook page, to my Yldrbac Facebook page, you will be able to see how the Yldrbacian Chronicles came about and where they're heading. Because I'm adding stuff to it now on essentially on a daily basis. And the reason for that is because the Yldrbacian Chronicles, which is the novel saga that I'm writing, a 12-volume saga, you may be one of these people that has got a real desire to get either a story of your own out or literally your own story out. This is just the method I've been using to get mine out. Okay, and it is one of these goals that is starting to make headway. And I do strongly encourage you to take a look at where your life is. If you've got a goal, doesn't matter if the goal came, if you came up with the goal when you were a teenager and had to put it on hold, and now you're in your 30s. Don't worry about it. It had to get put on hold because life got in the way. Now it's time to start making things happen. It's time to put yourself as a priority. Put your own goals in place. Now, this does not neglect your responsibility. It does not mean neglect your responsibilities. Because I'll tell you, even with your own personal goals, as I'm sure you'll agree, if you've got children, or if you've got people that you care about, you really have to keep an eye on what's going on there, or you're going to feel like you did something wrong, or like you missed something out. Okay, now, I have not been perfect in what I was aiming for. I was looking through it this morning, and with the miscalculation I made early in the year, I spotted the problem, talk about slow, spotted the problem in May, that I had not corrected the thinking process. And because of that, I know it's going to take me somewhere close to, if my rough calculations are correct, I will have everything back on track properly before the end of this year. But, and that's assuming I don't end up with some extra major windfall coming in, which I'm frankly not betting on. But I spotted the problem and I have got myself organized on a path that I can make work. And I know for an absolute certainty in my heart, if you've got a goal, you can also make it happen. Okay, there's very little that you ever get too old to do. Like, at my point, I've got a bad leg. I don't know, I've been looking for my cane. I've got a bad leg, so I'm on a cane. At this stage, trying to teach myself to do stis and to do tricks and what have you on a skateboard is not a brilliant idea. I mean, it wasn't a great idea 8 years ago when I turned 50 and decided in my incredibly bizarre outlook on life that I would learn to, and I would teach myself to skateboard. Well, I got to the point I was reasonably comfortable riding around in circles, and then decided the strain on my knee was too much for me to bother with. So I gave it up. At this stage, I'm not about to even pick one up and sit down on it or stand on it again. Just not a brilliant idea. Not for me, anyway. Now, this said, I've seen people come back from not being able to walk to being able to do backflips and somersaults and what have you. There is nothing stopping you except your own determination. For me, the reason I won't get onto a skateboard again is because I no longer have the desire. I had the inclination to do it to prove to myself that I could do it. I wasn't trying to prove it for anybody else, just for me. Okay, I managed to do that. I don't need to go back and do it again. I already know I can. Okay, my next big goal. Okay, the big marker for me. And I just got through, let's see, where are we here? There we are. I am now in doing my proofing for the end of an epoch, which is the sequel to The Birth of the Wolf Pack. I'm now on page 126, which boils down to a little under a third of the way through final edit. Okay, and we'll start making headway rather nicely. Okay, because with my proofreader, we worked out a schedule that will work for her as well as for me. Okay, so these are just projects that I'm managing to find ways to link together. Okay, and many of the things that you're aiming at doing, for instance, when I'm looking at reorganizing or redirecting the energy in my office, not only will it enable me to think better, it will enable me to accomplish more. Now, I usually go to bed about 10:30 at night right now. 10:30, 11 o'clock, sometimes a little later. But that said, I'm usually back up by about 4:30. Okay, net result, I get a fair amount accomplished. In answer to that funny little question you're probably not asking, but I'm curious about anyway, so I'm checking it out. I'm just looking to see when I actually got up this morning. Because quite frankly, from my end, it gets a little interesting. Yeah, so I went to bed last night at somewhere around 11 o'clock and was back up by 4:30 this morning. Okay, might have been as late as 12. I don't expect people to actually sleep as little as I do. And I'm not sleeping the least that I know of. Okay, but I no longer, because if I sleep 8 hours, I'm usually a wreck. But I had a list together before I even went to bed. So when I got up this morning, I looked at it and I knew I had to get my medication for my heart done, had to go for a walk, had to go to the bank, and had to go and pay a bill. Okay. Plus, I even made time. On my list, I literally made time to take a game and take a little bit of time out to play it. Well, I managed to get that done. Okay, so the only thing that was left on my list before I sat down here, because this is the recording of the journey, obviously, and I did have it listed as one of my goals for today. So I'm in the middle of doing it. Okay, and then I'll have to then I will have to post it. But with that in mind, I'm getting these things accomplished, getting them dealt with. Okay, and because of that, life around my house is getting more effective. Even with my son, he is starting to get a handle on his life doing exactly the same concepts. Write down the goals, get them, write down 3 goals. Each goal only being 15 minutes to half an hour in length. Once you've got one of them done, check it off. Write down a third one at the bottom of the list. That way, when you get done the day, when you're going to bed, you already know first thing in the morning what your goals are, or what the starting goals are. Okay, and because of that, you'll be able to feel like you're getting things accomplished. Instead of looking in the wall in the morning and going, gee, I don't feel like I got anything done. You can look at the list and you can go, yes, I actually did. Okay, like one of the bill I went to pay today, I got down to the store and I took a major chunk of money and sunk it onto that bill. Okay, now the reason for that was to be able to accommodate other things. But the important factor is I've got my head on in a way that I can understand now. And therefore, I know I'm on the right track. In the next few months, what I'm going to see happen is things start to climb. But remember, when we're talking finance, if you're in a tailspin, if you're overextended, okay, your money's going to continue to drop. You're going to have to stop that decline before it can start to climb. Well, I'm now down in this point here. Okay, where now I'm not expecting a whole lot of change in July here. Okay, I was hoping to have a real shift happen in January, a quantifiable one. But realistically, the shift in June, the wake-up call at the end of May really helped alter the way I was looking at the world. And now I'm looking at it going, okay, now I've got a plan in place that should start to see my income climb. My income climb, my debt load drop. Okay, by doing that, my stress level will collapse. Net result, my blood pressure goes down, my sugar comes back into level balance, and the medication becomes pointless. Which ultimately is the idea. Because I'm tired of being on the edge of poverty. It just doesn't make any real sense to me, to stay that at it as far as that goes. Okay, now one of the biggest things that you have to look at here is when you're taking a look at your life. Okay, yeah, I know, I get sidetracked. Remember that thing about this being live? You should see what goes. No, you shouldn't. My head goes in about 15 different directions all at the same time. This is one of the reasons why I have 3 monitors up here. Because I've got the monitor in front of me that I'm dealing with. And a lot of what I'm talking about, you'll find I repeat myself, but understand something very important, at least for me. I find repetition gets it to sink in. This is how I've managed to get my life back in order. Now, it's not perfect, but I can see the light happening. I can feel the shift in the energy, the shift in the stress levels, and I can see the side effects that my stress level coming down is having on my son. Okay, you too. If you choose to put these tools to work, you'll find the same thing happens. Now, every one of the tools, virtually every one of the tools that I offer, is a tool that if it applies to me personally, I'm already using it. Hence why I put such strong emphasis on the list. Okay, the list is extremely important in getting things organized. Okay, I've got to set up a time to talk to my second author, my second artist, because that worked out rather well. And now that I know what I'm doing with it, I don't have to worry about it. Okay, it becomes a real viable option where I can now see the goals that I set out when I was like 15 years old. I set a goal out. In all fairness, I really didn't put much thought in it. I wrote the outline and went, if I ever get around to it, that's going to take one heck of a lot of writing. Well, as it turns out, my rough estimate is going to be that writing is going to be about 4,800 pages. I've written at this point 1,300. So, if you think about it, I'm a little under a third of the entire saga written. Okay, but it is coming along. Now, the difficult part is trying to make everything fit together. The more you can find in your own life, if you've got multiple things that you're striving to do, the more link you can find between them, the easier it'll be to get them all done. Because think about it, okay? Look at it this way. Where it comes to my writing goals, I get the office sorted out, and I've got access to do all my writing goals at the same time. All of them can be accommodated at that point. This little filing cabinet beside me has a whole pile of paperwork in it. Okay, that has in one of these drawers. Actually, I think it's the top drawer. Has literally reams of paper in it on notes I've made for my different books. And bearing in mind that right about now I'm writing 32 books at the same time in 5 different genres. That keeps me busy. Plus, of course, I have my role playing, the figures that I paint, and I've got to take some time out for those. Okay, all in all, the more organized you are, the more focused you are on what you're aiming for, the more smoothly your life will run. And because it runs more smoothly, your stress level will come down. Now, speaking of stress, we're going to shift gears a little here, because if your stress gets too high, all sorts of problems happen. One thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about is how they feel like they're somewhat depressed because they're not seeing headway, they're not feeling like they're making the connections they require, or the ones they desire for that matter. Here's a little known secret, and it's only little known because people don't pass it. Don't take my word for this, give it a shot. If you're feeling down in the dumps, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling lethargic, find the fastest paced dance music you can find. Whether it's on a record, on a cassette, on a CD, on the internet, doesn't matter. Whatever your venue is, find the fastest dance paced music you can. Crank it as high as socially acceptable. That vibratory rate coming off the music will bring your spirits up. Don't take my word for it. Give it a shot. If you haven't experienced it, give it a shot and see what happens. Okay. Absolutely, I would love to hear from you. So drop a note at one of the contact points below this video. Drop me a line. Let me know what you discovered. The other thing I have found, and these are the only 3 laws I ever focus on. Okay, be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Now, those are the 3 karmic laws. And with that in mind, if you take a look at any of the guidelines, any of the laws that you either live by or have laid out for your home or your workplace, okay, take a look at the guidelines that you're following, and ask yourself, do they fit inside those 3 laws? I'm willing to bet that they do. Now, I'm not going to bet money because I don't have any, not to speak of anyway. But I have looked through a lot of different systems, a lot of different company policy books, and I will tell you, I have yet to find a policy or a law that does not fit inside those 3. And again, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Okay, where it comes to the spirituality side of things. Now, I've long claimed to be a spiritual guide. Okay, I didn't get into this because I wanted to be in the middle of the spotlight. I kind of got driven into it in a sense because of the number of people that were coming to me asking me questions that were just, to me, they were pretty black and white how to deal with them, but they were lost. And then I got on 6 years ago, I got onto a radio show on the internet called Spaced Out Radio. Okay, and I myself am there the first Friday of every month from 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on a show called R.Keith Andrews, the E.T. Connection. Drop in and talk to me there. The reason I brought it up to you now is it was those people that really pushed for me to start getting some of the insights that I have out. Okay, I used to travel around BC and Alberta, Canada, to work at psychic fairs. Okay, I've gone to Portland, Maine, to Skagit County, Washington, to Penticton, BC. Okay, two different UFO conferences. Okay, in Portland, Maine, and in Skagit County, I've actually spoken on the off-worlders and ancient races. Okay, and their interaction with mankind, not the least of which being the OTC drive, or an infinity drive, if you will, as well as the hybridization program. Now, these are under the UFO alien technology paradigms. Okay, so I've got that, and then of course I've also got the gaming. Okay, as in playing Dungeons and Dragons, playing Aftermath, this sort of thing. Now, needless to say, my life is more like science fiction than it is like what most people call reality. Now, I do try and keep this to the half hour, so with that in mind, I'm going to wrap this up. I've got a few other things I've got to get done, and with that in mind, I'm going to leave it with you. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and remember to hit that alert bell. Okay, and then share the daylights out of it. And I will be back again tomorrow sometime. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.